Hello, thank you for coming back to my kitchen again. You are very welcome as always. Today I have been making these delicious little rock cakes. Rock cakes take me back to my childhood. I used to have rock cakes when I was about 7 years old. I used to go around to a friend of mine and her old grandma used to make them. So we used to go around to her grandma's after school, and they're so delicious. These aren't the same recipe, I must add. In the old days they used to make it half butter and half lard. So if you want to make it in the traditional way, I do say as I make them, so it's 4 ounces of butter I put in these. So that would be 2 ounces of butter, 2 ounces of lard if you want to make them like that. But I don't make them like that anymore, and I don't think any recipe includes lard anymore. I've been looking around for different recipes and not many of them, well, I haven't even found one that includes lard anymore. So just butter, 4 ounces of butter went into these today. But they're lovely little cakes. They're kind of in between a scone and a cake. So you eat them as they are. You don't butter them, you don't cut them or butter them. You just eat them as you would do an ordinary cake. So they're not halved and buttered like a scone. And the texture is in between too. So let me have a bite for you. That is so nice. Let's just show you a close-up of the texture inside. So they are lighter than a scone. They definitely don't need butter. And today, the traditional recipe includes mixed peel. Now, I've never liked mixed peel, although I've always liked rock cakes. I've never liked mixed peel. So I've used all fruit, all dried fruit, raisins, sultanas and currants. And I've used the zest of a lemon and the zest of half an orange to give it a little bit more flavour. They're so delicious. So anyway, let's get on with making them, and I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. To begin with, we need to grease or line a baking sheet. It doesn't matter. I've just greased this baking sheet with butter. In this bowl, I have 225 grams or 8 ounces of self-raising flour. And to this, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder and a pinch of salt. About that much salt. And we're going to sieve this. To this, we're going to add 100 grams or 4 ounces of butter. And this needs to be butter straight out of the fridge, very cold. And just chop it up, small pieces as you can, and then we'll be going in with our fingers to rub it into the flour. This is one place in which this recipe that I'm doing today varies from the original recipe. It used to be that you would use 2 ounces of butter and 2 ounces of lard, and that's how I used to have it when I was little. But these days most people want to use butter, and I certainly do because I'm a vegetarian. But if you want to do it the traditional way, 2 ounces of butter and 2 ounces of lard will be the way to go. Once you've got the butter into very small pieces, you just go in with your fingers and rub the butter and the flour between your fingers until the mixture resembles fine breadcrumbs, just like making pastry. And this rubbing in is complete when you can't see any separate flour, so any powdery flour separate from the butter. It's all incorporated there. So in this bowl I have 100 grams or 4 ounces of mixed dried fruit, and in this I have raisins, currants and sultanas. Now in this recipe you can use mixed peel, so it would be 3 ounces of dried fruit and 1 ounce of mixed peel. But I don't like mixed peel, so I'm going to be adding lemon rind and orange rind later on, or should I say lemon zest and orange zest later on. And in goes 50 grams or 2 ounces of caster sugar. And just give it a mix round to make sure all your fruit is separate and not clumped together, because nobody wants a rock cake with a large amount of fruit in and then there'll be nothing left for any of the other cakes. There, I think that's done. Before we zest the orange and the lemon, we need to put the oven on. So that's 180 degrees Celsius if you've a fan oven, that's 200 if you haven't got a fan oven, or 400 if you're Fahrenheit. Because we already have this dried fruit in the mixture, I'm going to zest the lemon and the orange on a bigger side of the grater. So this is the side I use for pecorino, or the side you would use for Parmesan cheese. And remember, I'm putting this in instead of mixed peel. So if I was using mixed peel, I probably wouldn't use this lemon, but you could try it with both. And now the orange. Now this recipe calls for the zest of half an orange, but because my orange is so small, I'm just going to zest enough to make the same amount of zest as the lemon, probably about 3/4 of this orange. So just knock the zest down onto the plate. Oh, what a lovely colour, and just pop it into the mixture. And give it a stir around to get it all incorporated with all the other ingredients. Oh, it's beginning to smell very nice. Again, you need to spend some time going through this mixture, stirring the zest in, because you don't want a whole big clump of zest in one cake. Just the same as you don't want all the fruit in one cake, you want it dispersed evenly throughout, and the zest does tend to clump a little. There, that's perfect. In this jug I have 1 egg, and I'm just going to add to that egg just 1 tablespoon of milk. And give it a little whisk. Then make a little well in the middle of the mixture. And pour most of it in, leaving a little bit out. We'll see how we go. Sometimes I need it all, sometimes I don't, depending on the day. Just mix it round till it clumps together. This looks fine, but if your mixture is a little dry at this point, you can add about a teaspoon of milk, just enough to get it to clump. You don't want to add too much, it doesn't want to be a wet mixture. There, that's coming together now. Just go down to the bottom of the bowl as always to make sure you've got all the flour incorporated. I don't think there's anything left down there. That's it. Now we'll put our rock cakes on the baking tray. So we just take a spoonful of the mixture and pop it onto the baking tray. So this is a teaspoon here, so you can see the sort of size you need. About golf ball size, I suppose. But they're very rustic. We're not forming them into balls, we're just placing them as they fall really. And place them well apart. They will spread slightly and they will rise slightly. So they'll now go into the oven for between 10 and 15 minutes. My first batch have had 11 minutes and I think they're done. Look at these, they look delicious. So we'll just put them on a wire rack to cool. I'm now going to re-grease my baking tray and put the remaining rock cakes onto the baking tray to cook. And they'll go in the oven for another 10 to 15 minutes. My second batch have had 10 minutes. I'm going to see if they're done. And they look lovely once again. So just put the final rock cakes on the baking tray. And today this recipe has made 16 rock cakes. And as always, the ingredients are in the description. If you've enjoyed this recipe, please give it the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope to see you again next week.